that's fine. All right. Well, welcome, formally, after that long spiel. Really grateful to have you all here. This has been a lot of work and been a lot of adventures of serendipity and luck and learning and also sleepless nights. But yeah, it's good to see everyone. We'll begin with land acknowledgements, and then I'll turn over to President Jones for some remarks. So as we know at this point, I gather we are here on the land of the Lenape people. And as a matter of interconnection, I should mention that this island, Manhattan, was traded by the Dutch to the English, by the English to the Dutch for an island in Indonesia. So from the very inception, with the exploitation and the violence enacted against indigenous peoples here on this land, it's caught up in this global flow of both pursuit of profit and exploitation of others all around the globe as well. And so already from the beginning, we are implicated in something much larger than ourselves and that we must reckon with today. So I'll just read a land acknowledgement adapted from Justin Memorial Churches, and feel free to just reflect. We can walk around. It's freedom in this space, but I'll just begin. As we gather here today physically in space that stands on the unceded land of the Lenape tribe, we acknowledge these people of the stony country and decry the unjust taking of their Lenape hoking. We acknowledge the unfulfilled promises of the US treaties, granting land access, and the still unresolved traumas of forced migration. We acknowledge and affirm Native values and indigenous cultures, while holding tender space for the myriad, authentic, and post-colonial expressions of Indian faith and life. We commit to living in this acknowledgement in our private and public lives, and so to walk through the streets of this place with humble hearts, respectful minds, grateful stomachs, and hands and feet ready to engage in justice together with the living indigenous peoples of this continent, however we can. And if you feel so moved as a matter of reparation and as distribution of resources, you can donate to Mannahatta Fund.org, which goes to the descendants of the Lenape people directly by aid of one sort or another. Thank you. I'd like to invite President Jones to come up and offer some remarks.
Thank you for beginning with the land acknowledgement. And before I offer my formal comments, I wanted to share that on Earth Day, there were a number of Native peoples in the James Chapel sharing in that celebration, and in particular, members of the Lenape-Munsee tribe, which was the particular tribe that was on this space. And we took that as the occasion to share publicly that as the first step in a very long series of acknowledgements that will come from Union and the work of our Justice, Equity, and Inclusion community is a formal land acknowledgement from Union that will include a plaque, most likely outside. It will include a formal apology as in celebration, a scholarship support fund, and it was recommended to us that we make regular donations to the Sweetwater Community Center, which is up in Stony Point, which is the community center for the Lenape-Munsee people. So thank you for beginning us in that spirit. So I am delighted to be here today and to be opening, Vibrant, Visible, and Vocal. I love the title of today's celebration. And I love that it is student-led and the focus is on the arts and its expression of the presence, resilience, and joy that Asian American and Pacific Islander community at Union brings to this community. But I have to begin by saying and acknowledging, as we all gather here, that the last several years have seen a dramatic rise in anti-Asian hate and violence. According to the NYPD, in New York City alone, attacks on Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, AAPI, rose by 361% between 2020 and 2021. That's a horrifying statistic. I also want to acknowledge that this is a hard day because it's the 30th anniversary of the April 29th, 1992 LA uprising, on the day that 4 white Los Angeles police officers were acquitted for brutally attacking Rodney King. This acquittal was followed by days of uprising in South Central Los Angeles, which greatly impacted the Korean community there, specifically Koreatown. And this pain is still felt today. So I want us to begin by remembering all of those in all of our intersectionality, whose lives were impacted by the many acts of violence, and that together we pray for racial healing, justice, reconciliation, and ever-growing solidarity. Today, as we come together to be and to support our vibrant, visible, and vocal Asian American community, I am holding in my thoughts and prayers all of the victims of anti-Asian hate and violence, as well as their families, friends, and community members. I'm also holding in my thoughts and prayers all the Asian American and Pacific Islander community members and all the people of Asian descent for the grief, the harm, and the fear that is alive and growing in continued attacks upon the community gathered in this space today. Please know that Union and I stand in solidarity with you and all people of Asian descent across the nation. We are here with you. We're here to support you in ways that we can, and that is true and authentic, and comes out of a sense of the profound mission of this place and its aspirations to be ever more supportive and embracive of the wideness of the world, realistic about the serious and severe harms of our world, and together for us to collectively create a vision that we aspire to be as the community we ought to be. I want to thank our Asian American and Pacific Islander community here at Union, led by the AAPI Student Caucus, for all the passion, creativity, and hard work that it took to bring this event to life today. And I deeply think that the arts, both old and new, both inherited and original, are potent ways to stand up against anti-Asian violence and to welcome increasingly broad mediums of expression where authentic selves and diversity can be expressed in forms that stretch our imaginations to go into places that even the individual author, the individual creator, the individual artist may not even have known as they began the craft of their work. Today is a wonderful way to bring people together to learn about and engage with these beautiful, rich histories, heritage, cultures, and traditions. Indeed, the language of the arts is oftentimes, if allowed to be authentic, a unifying force because it speaks in authentic ways of the expressions of who we are gathered. So today, I am looking forward to all that we're going to do. The Bhangra dancing workshop, film and music, screening and discussion, poetry and singing, artist talks and discussion, and finally dinner and exploration. Wow, it's going to be a very full day. So just let me say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for the work that went into today, to the students who made this happen, to Supak, our amazing leader, who was here also as an energizing force behind this. And last but not least, I am just so delighted that today we have with us the union's new Chief Financial Officer, Nina Wong, who is right here, and it will go down in the history of all. This is her first formal moment on the Union campus, and she chose to come to this. And she officially begins work on May 16th. So we're really happy that you're joining this community, and thank you for making this your entrance. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to the host so that you can kick off an exciting day and get us going. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, President Jones, for that address. I didn't introduce myself before. My name is Shalom Krishnanugraha, and I am the AAPI Caucus co-chair. And I am your host for today. That is true. Though I am also just here for any assistance. So, yes, we are transitioning now to the opening ceremony. But before we do so, I would like to thank a number of folks. First, we would like to acknowledge that this was made possible, that we were able to help artists fund their materials and put on this event through the Interfaith Youth Corps grant, which of visibility and healing, belonging and healing, healing and belonging grants. And again, Dr. Pak, is to your credit that you secured this for us. We'd also like to thank, from some random act of, I presume, providence, that we have a number of Bennington students who are featured here as well. And thank you, Xiao, on the back there, for reaching out and hooking us up, really. This is suddenly a Union and Bennington collaboration. And there's a long story to that I'm happy to tell later, but here we are, and we're so grateful for it. You can see in your program who is who. And yes, I mean, all I can say now is that we are here as an international community as well, and so throughout the day you'll see Bhangra dancing, you'll see Moses, who's composed a Dalit theology song. We'll also see various Southeast Asian representations as well, and of course, there's also Asian American experiences featured, and you'll see the vibrancy and differences and some of the challenges as well. So we're just speaking honestly to you all of how we live. And with that, I'd just like to hand it over to Peter to lead us in ceremony. To Shan'an and Shan'ai to lead us in meditation, and then to Peter. My apologies. Right.
Thank you, everyone, to be here, and thank you, President John and Shalom, to warm us up. And in order to prepare for joining our today's event with joy and completely, let's do a loving kindness meditation. Okay? Are you ready? Okay, let's begin. Please find a comfortable posture you like. You can stand, sit, lie down, and keep any other relaxed ways you like. Now, let's close our eyes and we will begin the loving kindness meditation. Bring to mind a spiritual being or a loving energy or someone who has wished you keep love. Feel their endless wish for you to have deepest well-being, peace, joy, and safety. Breathe this wish in and feel your body filled with and surrounded by the peace, joy, and safety. Know that the source of this loving wish is boundless. Still picturing yourself, say silently, "May I have deepest well-being, peace, joy, and safety." Bathe yourself in this wish. May I have deepest well-being, peace, joy, and safety. If you have trouble saying this for yourself, know that your loved one or spiritual being is wishing this for you. Continue in this wish for yourself for another breath or two. This time, bring to mind someone you love. Feel the wish for peace and happiness flow from you to your loved one. Say, "May you feel deepest well-being, peace, joy, and safety." May you feel deepest well-being, peace, joy, and safety. Continue to wish this for them for a few more moments. Then bring to mind all beings in the universe as best as you can. As you wish loving kindness to all of them, say, may we all have deepest well-being, peace, joy, and safety. Continuing this wish for a moment. Now dissolve the visualization. Please keep in mind that various of our visible, vibrant, and vocal expressions are all about ourselves and sentient beings. Please love ourselves and love our sentient beings. And rest for a couple of breaths in the vast openness of loving kindness. Thank you. We can open our eyes gently and join our today's event. Thank you.
Thank you, Xianan and Xianai, for the loving meditation, loving kindness meditation to ground us all here. I can feel the energy calm and the peace come forth as we all have taken that time to settle into this space. Before we begin, I just want to point out this table here, which we are making into an altar for today. The altar is a really important part of Japanese I'm Japanese, but Japanese households and households in many Asian countries. And they're important for honoring our ancestors, one's God or gods, for prayer, and for creating a sacred space. For today, this table will serve as our altar, and we invite people to, or people will be coming in putting more items on here throughout the day. Central to the altar, we have rice in this bowl. Rice has served as currency in many of the countries in Asia, and it represents nourishment. We have a vase that represents beauty, a mortar and pestle that represents the labor of Asian and AAPI community. Herbs and spices representing our unique foods, and then tea, representative of rejuvenation. So before we begin, I will share a quick blessing. Divine Spirit, Creator, all that is good and just, we give thanks for the opportunity to come together today as a visible, vibrant, and vocal expression of the Asian and Asian American and Pacific Islander American community. May the works of art, photography, calligraphy, dance, poetry, singing, and culture that we share here today be an expression of the beauty, the resilience, the fortitude, and the adaptability of our enduring heritages. May we also remember that this is a very tragic anniversary of the acquittal of the attackers of Rodney King. And as we keep this in mind, may we remember the interconnectedness of all of our struggles. May today bring awareness to the continued suffering and violence done to our AAPI communities in this country. And may today's events draw us into closer community together, inspiring us all to continue acting for a more just world. Amen. And just before we all get started, I'll give one more reminder of the run of show for today. Today, feel free to continue wandering around in this area and checking out the great works of art on the wall and in this space. From 1 to 2, we have a dance workshop. 2 to 3, film and music screening. 3 to 4, poetry and singing. 4 to 5, artist talks. And from 5 to 5:30, we'll have dinner, followed by closing remarks and a closing ceremony. Thank you all for coming today.